On this week's show, we're discussing Xbox is back and Microsoft Gaming is out. Game Pass lands a surprise decrease of price. Saros could be PlayStation's Game of the Year, and Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced finally is dropping anchor. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to your weekly gaming podcast, the GamerGuild Podcast, where we get together to round up all of the week's video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds in and on your podcast platform of choice. Your podcast players for the week are myself, Chris Atlakenrug, and the returning techie teacher in replace of Richie this week, at Adaxis L _P, something like that. I don't know. It's been a while.
Adaxis LP.
Tom, welcome back. Great to have you back. Filling in for Richie this week. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, mate. I'm doing great. It's really good to be back on here. I'm finding myself having a little bit more free time as the kids are getting older now, so I might make myself a little bit more available.
To blow our audience's mind. How old is your eldest this next month?
Josh is going to be turning 5. Yeah,
five everyone, all the people out there like right now who've been listening for so long will think like, where is like that half a decade just gone? Like they'll remember when you got a dog, they'll remember when we were doing Google Stadia stuff, but then they'll be like, oh yeah, Tom's gonna take some time to go away and start a family and stuff, and then he's 5 now in school.
We are 5 years later. Absolutely, yeah. He's well ingrained into school. I had one of those proud dad moments. He came home with a book, and he was like, "Oh, Daddy, it's my book to keep." And I was like, "Are you sure it's not a library book?" And it said in the front of it, he had a little sticker in the front that just said it was the school's politeness prize for spring term, and I was like, oh, proud dad moment, proud dad. But yeah, just talking about like 5 years, like literally I was just sat downstairs before I put the kid to bed and just thought like how quickly that time's gone by and how big he is already at this point. He's starting to become my little sort of wingman when it comes to gaming now, which I'm really getting into. So that's we're just hitting it just right at this point.
Yeah, it's when we started all this gig, it's wild to think we're sat here with a 5-year-old. I have a 3-year-old. Yeah. And back in the day, we both just used to look after Richie. And here we are. Here we are, still talking games. And I will say, any parents out there, I think all of our friend circle absolutely enamored with Astrobot. If anyone's out there looking for a game to start with their kids, my 3-year-old loves it. It's now her kind of like carrot on the end of a stick. If you're good, if you do this, later on today, we can play a little bit of Astrobot, and she's even figuring out like which direction. Still struggling with the cameras a little bit, that kind of 3D-ness that we never had to grow up with. Like I always keep stressing when I talk about it, we just learned left to right. You went left to right, you maybe jumped up or down. She has to figure out this whole 3-dimensional world to navigate in using duplicate sticks and all these other buttons, whereas we just had Sega Mega Drive 3 buttons up, down, left, and right, and or even 2 on the NES.
For the most part, the A, B, and C buttons did the same thing.
Exactly, yeah. So it's a whole different world, but yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying that journey as well, and lots of little games in between. Tom, we do always like to start the show with what we've been playing. I know it's been a while, so we usually like to use these episodes as kind of a bit of catch-up with what you've been up to. But before we do get into that, don't forget, folks, like, subscribe, ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the great content we do here at GamerGuildTV, such as recent shows. My Resident Evil Requiem live stream, full playthrough, has wrapped up. That went live this week publicly. So that's 9 episodes, about 13 hours of me bricking it, hiding, taking down enemies, and finally saving Raccoon City. So thank you for everyone who's tuned into that and check that one out. Thank you for everyone who's shared and commented, because we've just passed 3,500 subs as well on the channel on YouTube. So another little mini milestone there on our progress towards 4K. It's ticking over nicely. And the Requiem playthrough had quite a lot of views, so I do appreciate that. And that means next week will be the return of the weekly cadence of PlayStation Retro Hunt, where I'm digging back into the past and buying some PlayStation 1 games. So lots of retro stuff happening. And of course, Richie will be back next week to continue as normal. But yes, back over to you, Tom. What have you been playing in the last couple of weeks, months? I can't remember when the last time you were on was. It doesn't feel like that long since you were actually last on the show.
No, it doesn't. But I think looking back in my calendar, it might even been as like far back as February. But hey, I mean, I could just be getting things. Time just blurs by at this point, really. What have I been playing? Well, I will say that the Switch 2 has really become a console that I've been playing a lot lately. I played a lot of Pocopia. I really got into that when it came out at first, and really found myself just sort of like falling into that Animal Crossing sort of cozy gaming sort of vibe for it.
Is it as good as kind of the world has taken on? Because I haven't touched my Switch since Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's kind of been sat there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think looking back on it now, I can understand the obsession with it, but now I think back on it, there's nothing really driving me to want to go back and play it again. I rolled credits on it. I spent some time doing additional stuff post-credits, building my own island. You get an area which is aptly named Palette Town, but palette like an artist's palette. Nothing to do with the actual location. But I spent a lot of time like building something up there, and after that I just kind of like moved in all my favorite Pokemon that I could get, and then just sort of let it be the same way that people let an Animal Crossing town be. I don't have any sort of desire to go back to it, but I did find myself like quite heavily ingrained in it. I found the story was really captivating in a special way.
Yeah, I've heard that in a surprisingly post-apocalyptic Last of Us kind of way.
Yeah, but it's also got like a really sweet tone to it as well, like gone but not forgotten in an interesting kind of way. But beyond that, I don't see myself. I feel like Nintendo have slipped a little bit with the updates on it and the events on it, so I'm not quite feeling the drive to want to continue playing it at this stage.
I think the levels of hype for it probably were unexpected on Nintendo's part, because this was developed second party, but I think they were maybe expecting to do well because it's Pokemon, of course, but not as well. I think it's probably caught them off. But then again, if you even went to Nintendo Fest Buy, Animal Crossing's been belated a little bit for like lack of updates. Like that came out, took the world by storm during lockdown 2020. Here we are 6 years later, and they've not got out a follow-up. It hasn't really had any DLC. It took, in fact, it either did take or it's been so long till they got a Switch 2 port / update of it across. So it feels like they've dropped the ball on kind of cozy games across the board. But Pokopia was one that I know had quite a bit of hype, and it was kind of on my radar when I saw it selling, like blasting through like 5 million sales. You couldn't get it physically anywhere. And then I was kind of thinking, like, is it? Because I know I'd enjoy it. I really enjoyed Disney's Dreamlight Valley a couple of years ago, and I know it's that, but with obviously the IP of Pokemon. So what's not to like? And then I think it is that element of, I've heard people say, oh, they've sunk 30, 40, 50, up to 100 plus hours in, and they still want to go back. And I either just look at it of, I don't have that time in my life.
Yeah.
Or similar to you, say, like, once that moment's gone, that kind of taste for it's gone, will I have any real vested interest beyond? Once I've made my island, my little town, I've got kind of most of the updates. Will I just let it go? And it seems like it's what you would expect from an Animal Crossing-esque game.
Absolutely. I think it hit just at the right time as well. Again, in that sort of like interesting sort of video game. I won't say drought, but like it we had Requiem at that time, but it hit a right point where there wasn't anything really glaring on the horizon. So it came in. It was a really nice surprise. Bam, just lightning in a bottle again. Really.
Nintendo know what they're doing sometimes with that.
Absolutely.
No doubt it'll get a sequel anywhere many years from now. In terms of that, been playing anything else? Have you done anything on the PlayStation?
I finally sunk my teeth into Death Stranding, so I've actually now made a good start on that. And
just another small game to chip away at then.
Just another small game, No, it's really rekindled my need to play Hideo Kojima's games. Like, there really is something about the way he creates a game, the way he developed characters that I just eat that shit up. Like, I absolutely love it. And even just from the get-go, I thought the idea of like a walking simulator, a delivery boy simulator type game at first, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this. sat down, played the sort of prologue, the intro, whatever you want to call it, and I was just absolutely captivated by the characters. I just think it's incredible. So I'm really looking forward to playing that, and then hopefully straight on from there, getting to the second one on the beach.
Yeah, on the beach. It's similar vibes from you. Like every time I've played Metal Gear games, I've been fully immersed and absolutely loved them. And then it is just kind of, I don't think I enjoy necessarily the gameplay loop of them all. Like even down to like Metal Gear, it was never the best form of gameplay, but it's that, as you said, the storytelling, the characters, they're so captivating. You kind of, it's a bit similar to when you get some big Christopher Nolan movies. I always think like they're so grand and scale of like epic, and they do amazing things, but I very rarely want to watch them again. Like in Interstellar
really
and stuff, and Dunkirk, and like when I watch them, like these movies are fucking brilliant. But I don't sit down at home and go on a Friday night with the wife and go like, let's stick on this movie. It's just like it doesn't come around. But I don't look back at them with any less fondness. I just think I don't want to. Now I always compare that. Obviously, Kojima would make a cracking movie if he was to work with Christopher Nolan. I think the world would implode. But anything big on the horizon then after that in the scope? We've got James Bond coming out in May, a couple of big titles, Wolverine at the back end of the year. Anything that's kind of in the pipeline?
I'm sort of keeping my eyes open on the upcoming sci-fi games, so things like The Expanse, and I'm also looking for Exodus as well when that eventually comes out. Like there's something to fill that like Mass Effect sort of need. I know they're really big, like really hot on the press at the moment with the recent showcase, and I know that we've got a lot of talk going on. It seems like it's going to very much be a nice little sci-fi year later on, which I'm really kind of looking forward to. Hopefully it fits the bill, even if they only come out around about like mid 70s to 80s on Metacritic or so on. I think I'll still enjoy it. There's just a void there for me for that at the moment.
Yeah, I've heard some good things this week about this. There must have been some previews for The Expanse, because I've seen a lot of kind of articles just popping up about it and saying it's very in the vein of Telltale meets Mass Effect kind of way, which is nothing but praise in a lot of ways. And then obviously we've still got the elephant in the room, which is GTA at the back end of the year. Like so, which it's November, but the way we've said already, time flies and it'll be here before we know it. So yeah, and the reason I'll let you go on about games, I've been waxing lyrical about South of Midnight for what feels like 2 months now, because I've just finished my playthrough with the wife. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Skipped all the combat parts, but in terms of the story, yeah, really enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So would highly recommend it, but I'm not going to go over the point time and time again, because Tom, we do have a busy show to talk about and to get into. But before we do that, I need you to introduce us to the
graciously gathered Gamer Guild Gazette, aka the news.
The news. And as always, the news is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members of the channel who support us that extra little bit further, just like you can. From as little as 99p, you get early access to this very show, early access to our playthroughs, retro content, and everything else in between, plus some stickers and badges next to your name in the live chat. In terms of memberships, Tom, I don't know if you know, but we introduced a new tier a couple of weeks ago because we felt 99p was maybe selling us a little bit short in today's world of inflation and price rises and current global economics. So we had bronze, silver, gold. We've got a shiny bronze tier, which now sits in that 199 bracket, because we felt people wanted to support us a little bit more. But 99p up to a fiver is quite a big void. So we've got that little sweet spot in the middle where, if you want to support us, by all means. But I know 100 plus of you every week listen on podcast free feeds. We call them dirty freeloaders around here now, Tom, as well. We've started insulting our audience over the last year or so, and they seem to like it. So we'll keep it up. But yes, the news. Busy news story this week. Some big changes, of course, kicking things off. Story number one. Xbox is back and Microsoft Gaming is gone, because if you can muster your best I am Groot voice, Tom, we are Xbox. Reading from the Xbox Wire blog post, this message was sent to Team Xbox employees globally. Dear team, Xbox has always been different. We started with a simple idea. Games should bring people together through shared experiences. That led to the first Xbox in 2001, Xbox Live in 2002, and new ways to connect from friends list and achievements to parties and play across devices. Today, Xbox reaches over 500 million players around the world with some of the most important franchises in entertainment. From the beginning, Xbox was built by people willing to try things that others wouldn't. We placed a consumer bet inside an enterprise company because we believed gaming would define the living room, and we were at risk of missing it. That spirit has carried us through the last 25 years, and it's required to carry us forward. And then they go on. I'm not going to read it all verbatim, but that was kind of the introduction piece. Of course, you'll know, but for those who have been paying attention to it all, Phil Spencer's out. Asher Sharma's in from the AI team. A couple of other people. Sarah Bond left. Matty Booty got a kind of promotion somehow internally. And there's been all these kind of moving around. But we got a slew of announcements kind of starting with this big Xbox One where they've reaffirmed that, Microsoft Gaming, no. We're going back to Xbox Gaming. We've got a new logo as well. I'd say it's fancy new, but it's just the Xbox logo and a slightly different glass pane, a little bit more reminiscent of, I'd say, the original Xbox logo.
Yes.
Then they kind of go on to say players are frustrated, and they basically kind of almost like reaffirm that everything that shapes Xbox and where it needs to be is that's what they go into talking about. Within the blog post, they kind of talk about a couple of extra features, but I don't know where you want to start, Tom. Obviously, you've not been here for the Xbox shuffle around. Were you surprised Phil Spencer ended up going in bear in mind, is their 25th anniversary celebration year? He's there in a advisory capacity, but Sarah Bond disappeared overnight. Big shake-up, and seemingly Ash is making some big changes. She's only been there just over 2 months now, but they're doing a lot of talking, and a lot of, I would say, correcting in the guise of they're just going back to what was there before. There's nothing new here. It's just we're Xbox again. It's
been interesting from my perspective, like keeping in on the news and reading the articles and keeping up with podcasts and so on. Yes, I'll start by saying I was very surprised by Phil Spencer's departure. That was kind of out of nowhere for me. I will say that from what I've seen, Asher Sharma at the moment, I feel like the last couple of news posts that we've seen in relation to this, it feels like the right moves are being made from my perspective to what is going on. I think the idea of mixing up your branding with having different divisions and having, Xbox, Microsoft Gaming, blah, 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 it doesn't really mesh very well. I think just keep it clear, keep it simple. And I think just coming straight back to Xbox, straight back to the origin of it, I think is exactly where they need to be. Secondly, I think it's really important that Asher has acknowledged the frustration of players as well. We've got more articles to talk about with relation to Xbox, but I think currently the vibe that I'm getting is that they are listening and they are actively making the changes that need to happen at Xbox in order to bring it back to I would say the sort of golden era of the 360 is where I would look to saying like that was the era where Xbox was really booming. So I think looking back to that, at the moment things feel like they're on the correct trajectory. It's sort of like taken the trolley and moved it to the correct path at this point, or in the right direction, I should say.
Yeah, it's the cynic in me always thinks that they always go on about, and people do, about the 360 generation. There's someone who's always leaned a bit more PlayStation, but is in recent years actually came to really love my Xbox and Game Pass and a lot of the titles they put out. But we are in this reality where every title I like playing, I've also been playing on my PlayStation 5. South of Midnight, I got the Platinum on my PlayStation 5. Forza Horizon 5 was the best-selling game they had on PlayStation in recent times. And we know Gears of War came across. We know Halo campaign re-evolved or reimagined, whatever it's called, is coming as well. And it's almost, I feel like it's that trying to put the genie back in the bottle now. I do get from a corporate standpoint, I feel like a lot of these moves Ash is making, and we haven't even mentioned it yet about the Game Pass has had a price decrease, which we'll get into more detail soon. But a lot of these moves seem, like you said, that they're the right things to say by all means. But I feel like they're just all the things that they've been criticised over the last year or 18 months. They've just kind of like flip-flopped on them. So we're going open platform and everything. Maybe we'll just focus on being important as Xbox. Ooh, yes. Nobody likes price increases. Oh, we've dialed back the price increase. Although it's still a little bit more expensive, we've dialed back on that. It's all about the plays. They got rid of this is an Xbox campaign, so we're going to commit to hardware and console. And it feels like there are a lot of quick, easy wins, but I very much feel like the decisions to get to that point in the first place, I don't think they were necessarily Phil's. I think exclusivity, I don't think Phil Spencer would have let them go multi-platform if he had his way. I don't think he'll have wanted to put the Game Pass prices up if he had his way. And I think like all the decisions made from Microsoft Gaming above him, Satya Nadella and stuff and that team, that's what ultimately has led to his demise. And I do think with a new CEO coming in, she'll need a lot of kind of backing behind her. And I think a lot of these are very quick, minimalistic decisions that, yes, they might have a little bit of a cost implication, but it's very easy to go, look what the previous guy did wrong recently. Look what I'm doing right. And I've seen so much social media commentary, and me and Richie talked about last week, of people going, see, this is why Phil was bad, this is why Phil was bad at this. And I'm like, any of these decisions that kind of Phil made were made so long ago, but a lot of people are acting like she's came in and she's like now suddenly steering the ship in the right direction immediately. And I think we all know these decisions go through a long process to even get to where they need to be. So I think I'm completely with you. They are the right decisions. But my biggest worry is like it's almost the too far gone now. To like, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I can appreciate your cynicism on it, and I do understand like the point where it comes from. It does seem like a stick to your guns if you're going to, and I think from the way that I look at it is from a customer service perspective, the fact that they're acknowledging feedback is it is good, because in some cases, a lot of corporate identities these days tend to sort of not talk about the consumer in any way whatsoever and not sort of address it to a certain extent. So that is good, but you are right. Is it a case of too little too late, for example? Where are we at? Is it something to set up towards the next generation? We know there's a lot of talk about the next iteration of what Xbox is, what PlayStation is, new players to the market like Steam and so on. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here, but you are right. I think the point you made very much about the games and the exclusivity or lack thereof currently is kind of like the big sort of red flag in a way for me currently. The question, I suppose, then is, do we see them then pull that sort of play anywhere mantra in terms of sharing with PlayStation? Do they go for first party exclusivity as well? Because that's the next thing I could see them potentially doing.
Well, that's it. That I think does make like business sense. Like, we know what exclusives do. They make people come to your platform to play that specific game.
Yes.
And I think myself and Richie over the last couple of months and even years, even going back to like Cloud Game Pass launching when we covered that initially on the channel, I don't think they have the IP still to pull that weight anymore. Halo's so diminished now. Gears to a degree, like Forza, we've seen from the port, Gears of War on PS5 did poor numbers. Forza smashed out the park. Yeah. But that's a racing game you're only going to get in 5-year cycles. Is that enough to stabilise that? They spent so much money, Activision, and again, to kind of touch in the Game Pass news, with the Game Pass price coming back down, they've also said Call of Duty's yearly iteration is coming out of that. So they're still trying to, I think, balance the books with making a return on that Activision Blizzard King investment still. And I just think, yeah, if they were to go fully exclusive again, I don't think that's a big pull. And I'll go back to Phil Spencer's quote when he said we lost that PS4, Xbox One generation, that digital switch. How many people now, hundreds of millions, have built up digital libraries with the Nintendo Switch, which is now also the Nintendo Switch 2 library, with the PS4, which is now also the PS5 library. And we need to remember, like, they're sat in this third place position. I don't think them gamers, those 200 million players on Xbox and on PlayStation platforms and on Nintendo platforms, I don't think they're going to jump ship for whatever the next Halo is. I don't think they're going to jump ship for whatever the next Gears is. You could argue maybe the next Elder Scrolls would have a big pull, but like between Fallout and stuff, it's just like I feel like even the latest Doom game came and went last year.
The sort of standout pulls that I can see is, I mean, even then, Fable has already been announced as coming to to PlayStation eventually, hasn't it? So it's like, to me, that was going to be my first one, is thinking about Fable is like the next IP I think about after Bethesda, like after Fallout, after Elder Scrolls, as being that sort of exclusive drive more than anything. You know, Blizzard still has their IP, but it's multi-platform already. Call of Duty is, again, it's everywhere. I think you're right. I think they've done themselves dirty a little bit in the sense of, their IP is, forgive me for saying it, but it's washed in a way.
And I think another thing that we would argue about that is, which is what always shocks me, is Matt Booty's in charge of their studios, and he has been for a long, long time.
Yes.
The output of their studios, albeit there's some great stuff. Clockwork Revolution looks fantastic. South of Midnight, as I've said, was fantastic. But there weren't this AAA pull. And I think Sony in that PS4 generation, when they launched us with Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima, they were like big franchises that have gone on to spawn like really successful sequels, an IP that have like kind of expanded multi-entertainment. And I just don't think they've had any output still in the last 10 years, you could argue, that's really merited anything like that.
Absolutely.
We've not seen sequels to anything. And I think their biggest successes, ironically, have came from things like Fallout, which has gone multi-platform. And I think a new Fallout game would have been crazy. But then if they did put an exclusive, are people really going to jump ship to play a new Fallout game now? Because they've seen it, if they just wait long enough, it'll come. Starfield. Remember when Phil stood on stage and went, you're getting 4 games. You're getting Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded. And he said, so, but we won't talk about Indiana Jones. We won't talk about Starfield. Guess what? We're both on PS5 right now. So it's like...
just a matter of time.
And I get it, but I do feel like that they've made that decision. You've got to kind of like stick with it now, because at the same time, if you're a shareholder at Microsoft, they're not going to leave that PC money, that PlayStation money on the table, even Switch to a degree. And I just think when you look at their audiences, there is the reality where they're in third place. Switch 2 selling gangbuster numbers, although it's slowed down. PS5 is now at 100 plus million. That's only going to go up with GTA later this year. The amount of PS5s are going to fly off shelves, because let's face it, the Pro is going to be the best place to play it.
Absolutely.
Let's get a little bit more into this blog post, because they do actually go into quite meticulous detail about what the future of Xbox holds. Their kind of subcategory title says Xbox will be where the world plays, which for people in third place seems like quite a broad statement. They go on to say, we will build a global platform that connects players and creators everywhere. Console is at its foundation, delivering a premium experience, and a cloud bringing experience to any device. You can play anywhere you want, and your games, progress, friends, and identity stay with you across console, PC, mobile, and cloud. It will be built with affordable, personal, and open, which we will offer flexible pricing. It's easy to get started and keep playing. The experience will adapt with you, letting you customize how you play, helping you find what you love, and connecting you to the right people. And will be open to all creators, from individuals to large studios, giving anyone the tools to reach a global audience and keep their games growing over time. Our new North Star will be daily active players. We will execute this through 4 priorities: hardware, content, experiences, and services. Before we get into the details, because they have politely bullet pointed it all for us. Okay. Is that just a bunch of word salad? Because I feel like even as I was getting halfway through reading that, none of it really makes any sense. It sounds like, when we were talking about like Google announcing Stadia and Amazon announcing Luna and what that's going to look like. There's a lot of stuff in there that it just doesn't mean anything to me. Like,
absolutely. I mean,
affordable, personal, and open. Adapt the experience to you. Like, what does that mean?
It's buzzwords. It's buzzwords again, isn't it? It's like talking about console at the foundation, delivering a premium experience. I mean, we're talking potentially the next Xbox is talking like around about the 900 1 grand marker or something. It's essentially it's a desktop computer. Like, premium, fine, but when you're talking about things being affordable, you had a mixed messaging right there. Next, you're talking about. Where is it? It's talking in specifically about like keeping games growing over time. To me, that reads live service, and now we just have to turn to PlayStation and just look at what happened with live service at PlayStation, and just think about how that hasn't worked out very well, and go from there, and just think, is that just history repeating itself right there? Yeah.
I would say they do a much better job between the likes of Grounded, Minecraft, Elder Scrolls, Sea of Thieves. They do have a lot of games that have flourished, but I feel like that was directly through Xbox. Like, Minecraft wasn't theirs, Elder Scrolls wasn't theirs. They've almost like stumbled into some success. Call of Duty's Warzone wasn't theirs. They've just kind of bought the way. But yeah, I completely agree with you. But daily active players, and this goes back to right at the beginning of the article, where it said across 500 million players. That number strikes me as like, you're just counting someone who logged in 2011 as a one of those 500 million players globally.
I reckon that's created accounts. That's how many Xbox accounts have been created.
Yeah, like I haven't touched my Xbox since Keeper before Christmas. I'm counted probably as that, but I haven't got any plans to play any Xbox games in the next coming weeks, months. So bullet points, Tom. They do bullet point it all for us. They're 4 pillars, as they say, their priorities. Hardware. Stabilize Gen 9 is a healthy and high-quality base. Deliver Project Helix to lead in performance and play your console and PC games. Lead in comfortable, personal, high-performance accessories. And build a strong ecosystem that expands choice and reach. So this is Gen 9. Project Helix seemingly is going to be this kind of hybrid of things. But like you said, how does that tick the box of doing the PC side at a cost and also being low end? Do we expect another Series X and S split of a cheap one and a big one, or handheld?
I hope not, for their sake. I do have to say about their accessories though. I've always found that the Elite controllers and just the controllers in general for the current gen are really quite nice. So I will say high performance accessories. Yeah, that's a fair point. But when you're buying a premium console at the rate that they're talking about for Project Helix, it's gotta be shit hot, or it's gotta be nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in the world we are, like, to be fair, in the world we're in, I don't discount Xbox making absolute top best in class console or PC. Like they have the tools to by all means manufacture these to a really high quality standard. I just think looking at the hardware, that's not an issue for Xbox. It's the kind of the brand and the marketing that is the strongest point. Is they're going to put out something that could be stronger than the PS6.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember, that didn't really help them in the PS4 generation. It was all
True.
about the games, which I guess brings them to the next pillar, which is their content. They say, grow and extend an enduring portfolio of franchises players love, evolve our 3P partnership, third-party partnerships, and strengthen our 5-year slate, expand into China, emerging markets, and mobile-first audiences, maintain and grow in-live games and long-term stewardship, and elevate creator-centric platforms like Minecraft, Elder Scrolls, and Sea of Thieves. So, everything you would expect them to do?
Yeah.
Really? I don't think there's anything there new for us. I do think in the content priorities pillar, though, they need some big wins, some big absolute... I think Matt Boot, we was actually quoted this week of saying like that lightning in a bottle moment of we need a Game of the Year candidate.
Yeah,
Forza 5, I believe, was one of their last titles that actually did win Game of the Year via some outlets. I think IGN gave it Game of the Year that year and a couple of others. And I wouldn't be surprised if Forza 6 this year was up there in the conversation with art direction, music, gameplay, all that kind of stuff. I think content-wise, like, what are they missing? Because I think Sony have been struggling with it recently as well in terms of just like their output amount.
Yes.
It feels like a long while. We've been waiting for Intergalactic for 6 years now. No Uncharted for 11 years, like nothing along them lines. The next Horizon entry is supposedly a long way away because of all this spin-off stuff's going on. Ghost of Yotei did really well, but you do wonder, like, in their portfolio, they've closed down Blue Point.
Yeah.
I could see Sony Bend going soon as well, Santa Monica. But then there is that reality where at the same time, next year they could turn around Intergalactic's absolutely phenomenal. There's a new God of War or whatever Santa Monica's working out is also due out. So they could have absolute banger hits next year that come out off the back of a strong GTA 6 presence. It's only going to strengthen that kind of IP that Sony benefit from, but I just think, a new Halo doesn't tickle my fancy. I'm looking forward to the new Gears, but is it really going to shift the numbers on the content they're looking for? Or are these 5 bullet points they mentioned just doubling down on games as a service? It makes them money. It's a constant flow of cash coming in. Their teams know what they're doing on them.
I'd love to know categorically what they classify as the portfolio of franchises that players love, because, again, going back on it, when I try to think about like what is core Xbox, I just think about who are their like large studios and what does that include, because if it is just going to be the same stuff churned out again and again, I just don't think that's going to like fit the bill unless something is absolutely groundbreaking. I mean, I'm sure Todd Howard even said that, the next Elder Scrolls is still a way off. Like, it's more likely that we're going to get another Fallout before that, I think, and that he came out announcing that too early. But when we think about other developers within their space, within their sort of portfolio as well, I don't really think of anything that is sort of sticking out at the moment as being this, of the caliber of things like a Naughty Dog game. This is where I think they're struggling, and that's where I feel like they really need to hit hard, like you say. There's got to be something out there that absolutely blows people out of the water. Like Matt Booty said, that lightning in a bottle, they've got to find it.
Yeah, they really do. I'm trying to think, looking at the slate of what we do know about. We've got... Recently, obviously, Hellblade 2 came out to a bit of a whimper. Indiana Jones was utterly fantastic, but that's Machine Games and potentially Wolfenstein 3. Again, is that going to move the needle? We had Avowed, South of Midnight. Doom came out. Gears Reloaded. Keeper, smaller game. Outer Worlds 2 came out last year. Again, I don't feel like that moved the needle that much. Even Black Ops 7 was quite a week. It was like the week it lost the Battlefield, right, for the first time in 10 plus years. And like I said, on the slate going forward, we've got Fable, Gears E-Day, Clockwork Revolution, State of Decay 3, which is another one I always think nobody really cares about, Marvel's Blade from the Deathloop studio. That could be big, depending on where... I think they've been let down by, unfortunately, Marvel, the movie side. They haven't had a bloody Blade movie out, even though they teased it, what feels like 7 years ago, in the Eternals post-credit scene, I want to say. Yeah. If that was out like this summer and there was a Blade game coming imminently, I could see that synergy working. You've got Kojima's OD. That could be an absolute like kind of cult hit, streamers and stuff.
Could be.
They've got Toys for Bob presumably working on a Spyro game, but remember they sold Toys for Bob, they got rid of them, and then they went independent and then contracted them to make a game with them. Don't know what that was all about. But then, yeah, within all of that, like you said, a new Fallout game, possibly. Obsidian just wrapped up on Outer Worlds 2. I would personally put them on a Fallout game, but you're talking 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least, and you do look and think you have the absolute biggest wealth of studios in the history of gaming. And I'm still not kind of seeing the output that's needed to hit that Game of the Year contender, that lightning in a bottle moment. But that brings us on to our next point, which is experience pillar. Fix the fundamentals for players and partners, make Xbox the best place for developers and creators to build and grow, and overhaul discovery, customization, social, and personalization to connect the community. Again, a lot of buzzwords. Okay. Like, what do they need to fix in terms of an experience?
I don't know. I guess the one thing that they're talking about quite heavily in the blog is they're talking about that the lack of features that have been added that haven't been. I think Sony have been really quite good at doing this more so recently with adding new features or tweaking the way that things are working and so on to keep things feeling a little bit fresh. Whereas I feel like Xbox have sort of dropped off a little bit. They certainly haven't been. The blog post mentions, that they're not very strong on PC currently, which I agree. There's a lot of a mix up between like what is included with Game Pass, what is not. When you've got the PC Game Pass versus the the console only, the cloud one, etc. It just gets a little bit muddled. It's like fingering too many pies in a way, but at the same time not really knowing exactly what they want, and having clearer messaging is what they need to do. It's tough for me to say because I haven't delved personally into this generation of Xbox, so it's hard to say like what exactly those fundamentals are that are missing. But to me, I know that the core experience of PlayStation in general just feels good. It feels updated. It feels cared for. Whereas clearly, even the core Xbox team here are talking about potentially not hitting those markers.
Yeah, and I do think a lot of it does just come down to optics and culture, and I think the amount of redundancies they've made in this whole back and forth between Microsoft Gaming and like who's in charge. Is it actually Xbox or is it a subsidy of Microsoft that's being run from above? Shareholders and stuff, but the stuff they talk about fixing this and that, my experience with Xbox has been great. Like, honestly, I thought until the Game Pass price went up, I was happy to keep Game Pass in perpetuity until it like almost like doubled in price. And I was like, you know what? It's not a price enough that I want to just sort of have running in the background. I need to make a financial decision on this one. And when we move on to like the services pillar, they talk about fortify Game Pass with clear differentiation and sustainable economics. Return to the business to a durable growth with strong cost discipline. Make cloud play feel native, fast and reliable across TV and low-cost devices. Use M&A deliberately to access growth where organic paths are too slow. Along the way, we'll reevaluate our approach to exclusivity, maybe, windowing and AI, and share more as we learn and decide. It almost feels like a startup company that's kind of like setting out their stall for this is what we're about as a business. We've got this great product we've just launched. We've only been around for 2 years, but with your investment, this is what we can do. But you're not. You're celebrating your 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And they kind of round up the blog by saying, we are Xbox. And they give 10 bullet points of their culture, what they're going to aim for, and ideas to thrive. And I just read them out verbatim. They say, we're a challenger. Meeting this moment will require pace, energy, a level of self-critique that should feel uncomfortable. At our best, we, 1, earn every player. 2, protect our art. 3, stay rebellious. 4, progress over perfection. 5, signal our ceremony. 6, core before more. 7, outwork the problem. 8, speed is learning. 9, makers over managers. And 10, clarity is kindness, which I've definitely done some PR work around that in work before. And then they summarised by saying, over the last 5 years, Xbox and the industry has been through an unimaginable amount of change, and this team has continued to live through it for our community. Thank you for staying focused on what matters. 62 days in, we're proud of how we've honoured our commitment of great games, return of Xbox, and a future of play. We're here to do the most creative and courageous work of our lives, and that's what we'll do together. With gratitude, Matt and Asher.
Okay.
If I put into AI, give me 10 positive business-focused points to highlight, that's what you get. I don't think this stuff, I know it does say at the top, this is what was shared with all Team Xbox employees globally. I think this kind of stuff should be kept internal.
Yeah.
Personally, because it does read like just a lot of corporate, like, we want you all to be happy in the workplace. We want you all to feel comfortable giving you the best output. But the reality is they have deadlines. They're making a product and it needs to sell. And back to my point is, like, ultimately, the quality of the games that they've been putting out have not been high enough to bring players in. They've gone elsewhere. And Nintendo have kept this closed wall for their entire existence right now. You don't see Mario or anything else. PlayStation have to create, even they're rolling back their PC ports. Because I think PlayStation were happy getting the money for the PC ports, and now they're seeing the way the market's evolving. I think, again, I can't help but look at Grand Theft Auto 6 and say, we're going to ship so many consoles, because it ain't going to be on Switch and it ain't going to be on PC. If you've got a toss-up between getting GTA with a brand new Xbox or a brand new PS5 or PS5 Pro to a degree, which is going to be the best place to play it, which side are you picking in the grander scheme of the way their optics have been for like 7-8 years now? It's probably going to be Team Blue, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem.
Like
all this stuff's amazing to say. It's like, by all means, I think everything that's said in here, I totally get behind. I understand it. I just think it's going to make no difference, unfortunately.
I don't know. I get it. Like, you know, hats off to Matt and Asher for this. It, like, putting this out there and you know, making the effort to be public and making the effort to show that they are speaking and that they are doing stuff. Whereas I think, you know, sitting back and not doing something is a little bit more concerning. Being there and putting words out there, that's fair. At least they're having a go at doing it. Agreed. But is it the right thing? Time will tell. Like you say, I read that list and I just think that those 10 bullet points are absolute bullshit. It just looks like absolute just churned out words, doesn't it? Like, I look at it and I just think, like, stay rebellious. It's like core before more. Makers over managers. Like, it just
it's going to make to your guy who works in like Redmond is an art designer or a sound designer or someone in one of these many studios they own. Seeing that on an email or reading that in an internal blog post, their day-to-day is going to look no different. Do you know what would? Probably a slightly higher pay rise, less crunch, and some direction from leadership to what games they're making.
This is Becky in HR sitting there going, oh, I need to stay rebellious. I need to outwork the problem.
Flips the table. I'm being rebellious, and now you're brought into a one-to-one for showing too much aggression in the workplace. Yeah, it's but I agree. I think it's good that they're talking. I think, again, it's Ash's role now stepping in for Phil. They couldn't just continue on this path. They need to be shown to making a difference or making a change, because she needs to put her own footprint on this team.
Yes.
And that's what she's doing. Which I guess brings us into the next point of the Game Pass price decrease. I think, as you mentioned, myself and Richie, when the price went up, we both tapped out. And that's probably a reason I've not really touched my Xbox, because I haven't got Game Pass. Therefore, technically, I own no games on Xbox because I was a Game Pass player through and through. Like, I got on board with the announcement of Game Pass. I played all their day one exclusives. And even the Call of Duty news of it being pulled out doesn't really impact me, because I don't really care too much for Call of Duty nowadays. But I did play Keeper. I did play South of Midnight last year. I did play Indiana Jones last year. I did try out Avowed. I did, I think, played Claire Obscure before eventually buying it on PlayStation, ironically. But I did thoroughly get my money's value out of Game Pass when it was at that reasonable price point. And I do think I'd love to know the numbers of how many people jump ship. When I looked on social media when that price went up, everything was just, I'm done, I'm out. And that goes back to the negative optics, which no matter how many HR buzzwords you throw at me, I think once you've lost someone's trust as a consumer, it's very hard to get it back.
It's a burnt bridge, absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, what do you think? They've rolled the price back. It's now back to being £5. It's still a little bit more expensive, but I don't think in the history of anything a price has gone up and then went down. Netflix and them's never gone back over. Subscription models, our phone contracts, like none of that's ever gone back to our council tax fucking bill. That's never been worked, no matter what these MPs do. That's never gone back year on year. So the fact that Game Pass has actually done it is, I guess you've gritted your teeth and went, you know what, it's going to cost us money, but maybe we went too high on the last rise.
Maybe. I mean, imagine pitching that to your investors, to your your shareholders and so on, and just saying like, look, we're gonna have to cut back the profits on this. That's a difficult bullet to bite down on, isn't it, really? Let's be real about that. But yeah, like you say, hats off. The messaging is correct. Like, we're not afraid of making that change, and I think that change is a step in the right direction. I think you're right. I think pulling Call of Duty from it, the Call of Duty is not worth that extra $7 a month for people to, like, people who play Call of Duty. Let's be real. The way I see it is you've got your diehards. You've got your people who are playing Call of Duty and they're playing that. That is the game. Yeah. They're your people who would be purchasing a Madden or a FIFA or any AFC.
You filthy casuals out there.
Exclusively to that game, isn't it, really? Yeah. Like, it's almost warranting of its own tier. Not that we're going to muddy the waters with
another one.
All of that. Yeah, yet another tier. Is the price point right? I mean, it's still difficult because it does feel at the moment that, like, everything we do, everyone is moving to a subscription-based model of some sort where, you know, rather than paying for us in the UK, you know, we'd be paying for Sky TV or, you know, for Virgin, for your TV services and so on. These days, that's not as much of a thing. It still exists, but it's not as much of a thing. These days, you're paying for your Netflix, your Disney Plus, you're paying for your Amazon Prime TV, you're paying for
HBO Max, the new one. That's the new kid on the block. Paramount. Yeah, it just doesn't end.
I lost my shit with Amazon the other day when I was watching something and an advert came on for I think it was like the iPhone 17 Pro or something, and I was just like, it had a button on there that said buy now, add to your Amazon basket. What the fuck are you doing?
Because you get adverts on the lowest tier now, right? So it's like, there's another £2, there's another £3, and subscription fatigue is legit real. And I think when you start to stack these things up, I'm not getting rid of my Spotify, I'm not getting rid of my YouTube Premium, I'm not at the moment getting rid of my PlayStation 1, but then you do start to think over a family of like multiple people. Like, at some point you're going to have to look at a family plan for some of these things as your kids get older. Absolutely. And it does start to add up, and I think, Xbox made such a stark jump. Everyone just got like price shock and went, oh, I'm out. It's easier to get rid of the villain who's just put them up than stick with the ones that you know. I kept with Paramount for 2 years, probably beyond I would, because when I went to cancel, they were like, oh, you can have the whole year for $34.99. I was like, actually, you know what? Broken down over a year, South Park, a couple of, like, 34 quid's an absolute drop in the ocean. But when you're asking for, $29.99 a month, so I think for us in the UK it was about 23 quid. But remember, when we got on board with Game Pass, it was £1 promotion, and then I think it ended up being a $9.99 a month. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But yeah, essentially it's almost doubled from when we started playing Game Pass, me and Richie. We had our consoles.
Yeah, essentially, you're talking like an entire. Well, I have to be careful saying this now, but like, you know, you're talking about a week's worth of fuel there. But these days, that's probably even higher. So you know.
But it does, and I know we jest, but does a Call of Duty tier with maybe Warzone perks sweeten the deal? I know they do Fortnite perks now, which I don't think anyone I know gives a shit about. They keep talking about like cloud gaming, but I think we're all on the fence of like, cloud gaming's great. Xbox cloud gaming's worked for like 5-6 years now. Like it's only gotten better. It does come back down to like what games are included, and if Call of Duty starts to come out, is the next Halo no longer there day one? And then do we start to get this tier split where it's like Game Pass is there, it's great, but if you want to play the big games, you got to fork out 70 quid.
Yeah,
and that's a model that, unfortunately, PlayStation stuck to their guns. They didn't succumb to the Game Pass model, which I think Microsoft were almost calling their bluff and hoping PlayStation would counteract them. And they went, no, we've got PlayStation Plus tiers. if you want to play Naughty Dog's next game, Santa Monica's next game, Saros comes out the end of the week. That's $69.99. They've not budged on that, and credit where credit's due. They've not diminished, and here we are. And
you do Xbox. Yeah. You just carry a whisper.
And Nintendo, the same thing, stuck to the guns. And if anything, they've crept the prices up with the launch of the Switch 2. They've timed it perfectly. Where new generation, new prices, assholes. But yeah, it's but as I said, it's a good price decrease, and I think they're trying to buffer this news a little bit of this week as well, with some Xbox ID news. Should we get into some actual games, Tom, rather than just
let's get some
talk
games.
about
Let's get some
games. Do let us know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on the Game Pass decrease, in taking out Call of Duty, and just we are Xbox overall. This was an Xbox, this was an Xbox, and now we are Xbox, apparently. Let us know what your thoughts are on that. We'd love to hear what you think. But yes, gaming news, Tom. We had ID at Xbox, which was a little spring showcase. It was ran by IGN. It was kind of a yearly thing they've done now, where they basically show off a bunch of games that are up and coming. It doesn't have a showcase as such. It's more just like little video blogs drop and showcase some things. A couple of things we've seen before, a couple of things we haven't. Is there anywhere you would like to start, or what's caught your eye? Because I didn't get a chance to check out the showcase, so I'm very much kind of jumping around, similar to yourself, between what's came out. Or what's coming out, I should say.
Absolutely. Like, just looking through this list of games, there's a lot of games on there that I just think are almost just like shovelware in a way, really. Just the ones that stick out to me, I would say, Are We There Yet is one that's been really big on Steam. It had its on PC. It had its moment, because again, it's one of those very much sort of like I think the term that's used a lot in the gamer sphere is it's like friend slop. It's very much one of those games that you can jump into with your mates, dick around in for quite some time, have a bit of fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It has a bit of, it's kind of like, it fits in that sort of peak category. So when you think of the game Peak, that did really well. It's sitting right there. So to see that come in, yeah, that's a decent move. But again, I feel like these types of games very much have their 15 minutes of fame. They come out, they're showcased to hell by streamers. They have a huge intake to begin with. But then if you're a month, 2 months, 3 months late, like look at Palworld, for example, how that absolutely exploded when it came out.
Absolutely.
And yes, it's still going now, but they kind of die off after a little while. So that's the first one.
Tell me, so what do you do in Over There? I've got the trailer for our audience on YouTube out there. What exactly do you do? The names are fun play on words, but the trailer doesn't really give anything away as what you do in the game.
So in essence, what you've got to do is you've got to travel from A to B, and you're moving your home, your motorhome, your RV, and the idea is you've just got to take a route that's outside of the norm. So you're not just hitting up a road. You might have to take an off-road sort of route across canyons, across ravines, down rivers and things like that. And the idea is that you have to sort of work together as a team to sort of navigate your vehicle, put out things to like help your RV be able to traverse different things. And it can just be one of those fun, stupid games where you could just spoil it for everybody at the last bit, or not quite make it, or have those great success moments. It's just work together, have a bit of fun as a co-op game.
So are you like a little car top down? Are you within? Is it first person? I'm seeing little clips now.
You're a player that comes by, and you control a vehicle. You're either driving the RV or you're out there helping move it around, winching it, moving it.
It's a lot of physics based humor.
Yes. If you think of something like Human Fall Flat, for example,
that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah,
with a vehicle and the way you move things around, basically.
Yeah, I'm seeing that now, where they're all kind of trying to give each other directions as it falls falls into a ravine off a cliff, and the windows and panels fall out. I can definitely see that being definitely for streamers. I see where you're getting out with the streamer side of things. I
could see that being a bit of a hit with like your kids, your teenagers who are just like, they just want to have like, let's jump onto this tonight and just mess around for a few hours.
Yeah, love it. One for me was a Icon Beanie One Store Many Stories. This is apparently, it's one of them cozy games where you work in a little shop in Japan somewhere, and you basically run the shop. So it's a cozy, narrative-driven slice-of-life game set in a small Japanese convenience store. Step into Makoto's night shifts, where everyday tasks, quiet moments, and customer interactions unfold into heartfelt stories shaped by the choices you make. And yeah, it literally just looks like you work in a shop and you stack the shelves and you scan the products. Very much a cozy game, but I'm intrigued to see where they're saying like the stories of people's lives come into play. I've heard a lot of good things off the back of it. But there is something about the mundane, isn't there? Do you ever play Job Simulator on PlayStation VR?
Yeah.
And there's something about that, like all you are literally doing is sat at a desk, doing some audits, stapling some things, picking your coffee from the coffee robot that comes by, sending an email, and it's like, that's what I'm getting from this vibe, where you're just going to like, deal with some transactions through the register, sell a couple of things, restock some shelves, but there's going to be super chill music running on. You're going to talk to a couple of customers. There's going to be some narrative thread there. Clean up on aisle 12 kind of deal. It's going to be super chill. So yeah, I like the look of that one.
I'll give a shout out to I'll give a shout out to Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard as well, because I will say one thing from the opening of the show that I didn't mention is I'm actually playing this on Switch 2 at the moment. So sorry that you've only just pulled this out Xbox, but I have already sort of like bought it elsewhere. It's Vampire Survivors was again one of those games that it didn't take itself seriously. It came out at a really cheap price point, and the gameplay was so simple to pick up on, but it spawned an entire generation of, you're this bullet heaven genre. Instead of being a bullet hell where you're avoiding things, you are essentially the thing to avoid, because as you level up, you gained new abilities, new weapons, you leveled them up, you unlocked things, and you just had to survive. Vampire Crawlers takes that and it puts like a dungeon crawling sort of spin on it. So if you think about, I'm throwing it way back for some old school people here. Do you remember Microsoft Encarta? The old Encarta?
Yeah, the encyclopedia,
yeah. And they used to have like a little almost like a story driven mini game on there where you could like navigate a maze and so on and do stuff in it. Or even if you just remember that old Windows screensaver where it used to just navigate around a maze as like a mouse trying to get the cheese at the end. It's kind of like that, but it has a nice little roguelite sort of card mechanic to it as well. So you've got enemies in the dungeon that you come across. To beat the enemies, you've got cards. You have to play cards to try to build up combos, and the combos will make you do more stuff. It uses all the same weapons and items and things that are in Vampire Survivors. Same sort of artwork. It, again, doesn't take itself seriously, and I think it's around about $9.99, so it's affordable, and it's very replayable.
Wonderful. Did you, we covered it on last week's show, have you seen Warhammer Survivors?
I've heard that it's coming out, but I've not actually looked too much into it.
There was a trailer that dropped last week. Me and Richie covered it on the show, and it's from the Vampire Survivors team, teamed up with the Warhammer people over at Games Workshop, and it looks exactly what you can imagine, just Space Marines and Orcs in replacement of vampires and vampire hunters. And it's going to be chef's kiss, like beautiful fun to me. All the weapon upgrades you can imagine with the Space Marines, it's going to go down amazingly well. The only other one for me to touch on, it was probably the biggest game out of the whole lot, is Felion. And this is the third-person action-adventure game set on in space. It's set on a planet called Persephone. It's the reason I want to highlight is it because it's the same. It's the people who brought us Banishes Ghosts of New Eden. It's that team from Don't Nod. So this is the one where I think it has a lot of promise, and I think because of how good the story was and the characters were in Ghost, again, very much a game that was slept on by a lot of people. It's that team from Don't Nod. So you've got the ones who do the kind of the Life is Strange-esque games, and then you've got the ones who did the more third-person action games, which are maybe a bit close to like a Naughty Dog-esque game. And this is their next take on that. So yeah, Space Planet looks like there's a two characters story back and forth being like abandoned on the planet, a bit like the Martian movie with Matt Damon, but with some like typical like third person traversal, some puzzle mechanics, some weather dynamics kicking in. But I think out of the whole showcase, this was probably the most visually stunning game out of them all. It very much is an indie. It's got a lot of budget behind it. But yeah, I just wanted to shout that one out. Any other last ones, and we'll wrap up on the ID at Xbox from you, Tom?
No, the only ones that are sort of names that I'm familiar with, Albion Online, that's been out for a while on pretty much every platform at this point. It markets itself as a massive cross-platform fantasy sandbox MMORPG. It literally is exactly what it's described as. It's a free to play game. It's sandbox, so you can kind of do whatever you want in it. There's no real classes in there like you'd find in an RPG sort of system, so it's just based on whatever weapons you use, whatever skills you use in. It sort of takes itself as being like a more modern RuneScape in a way,
Right.
really. And the only other game that really sort of popped up to me there was Deep Dish Dungeon as well, was another one, which is a co-op online multiplayer game where you must survive the treacherous depths of a mysterious and atmospheric dungeon, navigating puzzling passageways, gathering resources to craft tools and improve your campsite, discovering dozens of recipes to cook nourishing meals that will boost your stats. I don't know. I like a dungeon crawler. I'm just a bit of a sucker for things like that at the moment. Roguelites, give them to me any day.
Does it have any West Brom DLC coming out for us? It's my
Not necessarily. No.
It should have. It should have. But there were a lot of games to show off. Obviously, we won't talk about them all just because it's when you get so many indie games, they either all blur into one, or some of them are so inconsequential in the grander scheme of things. I will say though, I think everything announced at the showcase, if I'm not mistaken, is coming to Game Pass. Yes. With Xbox Play Anywhere supported. So fill your boots again if you've got Game Pass. If you're looking to get back into Game Pass because of the price cut, there's a slew of great games coming anyway. Moving on to our next big story of the week, pivoting away from Microsoft over to PlayStation. And speaking of great games, Saros is out next week, actually. This is one of those where the reviews started dropping on my YouTube feed last night, and I was thinking, this game doesn't come out till the end of the month, which is usually a good thing in terms of reviews, that they're so confident in the game they've got it out early in the hands of reviewers with enough notice so they can play through it, complete it, compile their thoughts, and actually review it well ahead of launch. Saros, with a Metacritic of 88, is sitting pretty high right now. This is from Housemarque, who are the team who did Returnal a couple of years ago, formerly known things like Resogun back in the day. If you remember, They pivoted from doing arcade shooters and said, arcade shooters ain't making us any money. We need to diverge our business and do something different. And then they came out with Returnal several years later. PlayStation, if you remember, PlayStation Studios acquired them within the same week Returnal launched. So it was a case of, they've made this game, we've clearly liked what we see, and obviously they went on and bought a slew of studios, but Housemarque was one of those. And this is their first game they've put out fully in-house. It's almost like a spiritual successor to Returnal. There's a lot of mechanics they take, the kind of the bullet hell dynamics. But to read from the blog post for those who don't know, I'll go into what Saros is. They say Saros is an action game with the haunting story of a lost off-world colony of Carcosa under an ominous eclipse. You play as Arjun Devraj, played by Rahul Kohli, if anyone's familiar with his work across TV, a powerful Soltari enforcer who will stop at nothing to find out who he is looking for. Our goal is to create an emotional and powerful character study that explores the cost of what it takes to create a new future for humanity. Arjun is performed by Rahul Kohli, there he is. Rahul is bringing Arjun to life with a stunning performance. He's been a brilliant collaborator to tell our story and champion for the game. A key gameplay distinction between Saros and Returnal is a permanent resource and progression, making every death valuable. After every death, you will face a change to the world, but in Saros, you'll be able to choose and permanently upgrade your loadout for an evolving set of weapons and suit upgrades to come back stronger, which is the kind of quote tagline of the whole game, come back stronger, to overcome the challenges you face in Carcosa. We've obviously seen a lot of gameplay trailers and stuff for this now, but yeah, I think that was the one thing I think we said pre-show that didn't play Returnal. Same for me. That whole kind of roguelike, you do a run, if you die, you lose everything. Not my world. Difficulty, Dark Souls-esque, not my world. So when they kind of announced Saros, I was like, okay, so when you die, it's not necessarily the end. You can upgrade your skill points so that you have like a second life, a second wind. You can, each run, you keep your weapons and your skills. So you can, if you basically want to do a bit of grind work, you can go into these kind of biomes they describe with a little bit more power behind you. And some of the previews and reviews I've listened to, even just this afternoon, they go a little bit in depth about saying, actually, once you've done a couple of runs, you are so overpowered it almost makes the game a little bit easy. Like they were saying, they've had to start like a new save just to get a bit of challenge out of the game, which I guess not great if you're looking for that like hard hit Returnal gameplay or that Dark Souls esqueness. But for maybe someone who's a bit more mainstream like myself, that appeals to me quite heavily, because then it makes me think like, oh, I could play this and enjoy it without ripping my hair out every time I die. To read from a few reviews then, from Metacritic, VGC gave it a 10 out of 10. They say Saros is a bold, confident realisation of 30 years of Housemarque. It builds on the mystery and exceptional gameplay of Returnal with an excellent lead performance, and changes to the formula mean even more players will come to realise that Housemarque is PlayStation's secret weapon. 100. 10 out of 10.
Wow.
But yeah, where do you sit on Saros and Housemarque in general? Like, I always feel like I enjoy them. Visually, they look great, but other than Resogun, I've not really played their games.
No, you're absolutely
unfortunately.
Right. I'm right there with you. It's something that I have to say that it's strange because it ticks all the boxes for me, but I've just never really sunk my teeth into it. Like Resogun, when the PS4 came out, I do remember I played quite a bit of it, being like one of the launch titles essentially. Exactly, right. Made the use of the technology at the time. Saros looks fucking gorgeous. Like it's there's a lot of red, yellow, orange. It's a very specific color palette, but for the most part, it looks great. It looks like it plays very smoothly. The gunplay is meant to be really, really clean as well. Like it's meant to be very responsive and feel good, which is great. The bullet hell element has always been something that I'm not like massively interested in, the idea of dodging things all over the place and looking for like the perfect place to go. But the roguelite element for me is something that is quite a bit attractive, and I'm considering it. Is what I would say.
I think because you like that more, you've essentially got the platinum in like Sekiro and stuff. So that whole die again, try get better, you vibe off that, whereas I haven't done so traditionally. But yeah, just like the premise. I've heard some of the people say like the biomes, they do get away from the red a little bit as well as you get into it. I heard someone describe one of the levels from an art design that said it's going to be up for all sorts of like art design Game of the Year awards. Apparently there's like a level where it looks like essentially someone took the Death Star and exploded it, and you walk through that with like wires and tech hanging all around you, in quite inconsequential places as well. So not even like boss fights or arenas or levels, just like in the background, like environmental storytelling kind of stuff. But the premise, I like the story of that. It's like apparently they sent these ships to kind of basically plot out the future for humanity, and they sent out like Echelon 1 was there to go like terraform the world, Echelon 2 was there to go set up the foundations of buildings, so of Echelon 3 and basically Echelon 1, 2, 3 all fucked up, and you're like Echelon 5 going in to see like where humanity essentially is, where we're at with this process. And that's when I think it says like in the blog post about like trying to find out who's gone where are our people essentially. I do think bringing in a lead character as like a traditional like actor as well lands a bit of gravitas to it. Rahul Kohli is a big gamer as well through and through. I think he's actually dating Alana Pierce, to tell you how close he is to the industry and how he lives with her. I think I'm pretty sure they do. But yeah, to read some more reviews to kind of add to it, Game Informer gave it a 9.3 out of 10. They say moving, shooting, improving both in stat and skill, winning and even losing is an unequivocal joy in Saros, and I only wish I could write this sentence faster so I can hurry up and get back to the planet Carcosa and attempt another run. Nice little cheeky bit there. Moving down a little bit, we'll try and get some kind of like low scores and see what people. I know Rich always likes to dig into the poorer ones and get a few vibes, but they're also good. Game Rant give it a 9 out of 10. They said Saros is an excellent heart-pounding action game that is easily one of the best PS5 exclusives. The combat is exhilarating and Carcosa is a blast to explore. The quality of life features make it more accessible in Returnal, and while that might upset some purists, it helps Saros avoid some of the frustrating pitfalls that roguelike games sometimes fall into. Saros is one of the year's best releases and is a must-have for PS5 gamers. It's things like that when me and Richie and yourself, I'm sure included, sit here and go, man, you're turning my head. You're turning my head when you say things like that. And like you, I'm not playing anything at the moment. And I kind of read some of this and I'm thinking like, is this now my foot in the door to this type of game.
Yeah.
I've waxed lyrical.
Is this your stop? Is this your getting on point?
I mean, I don't know if you know, Tom, but I'm a Resident Evil stan through and through now. Like, I think went from never playing any to then I did, obviously we did Biohazard on the channel, we did Village on the channel, I did Requiem now on the channel, I got the Platinum in Requiem, I did about 5 playthroughs of Requiem, that's how much I loved it.
Wow.
I've got 2, 3, and 4 remakes sat ready behind me to go on PS5. So I'm kind of like, you know what, I always write these type of games off, but if I just give it a go, I might just absolutely fall in love with it. Similar to, I think I said to Richie a while ago, like Sea of Stars. Not my traditional type of game. Got the Platinum, absolutely love that, and I can't wait to see it. So it's like that thing you say, they're not my type of genre, but I think the willingness to try something out. Expedition 33 wouldn't have been my type of game either, and that was my game of the year last year. So I'm like, you know what? It might be hit at the right time. I would have been playing Bond, but Bond got pushed back to May. So now I'm like, well, actually, I've got this month window now to jump in on a PlayStation exclusive. So
maybe it's time.
Any comments from here that would like kind of tip you over the edge? It lands on payday as well, which is always a great time to to give me a chance to buy a new game.
Oh yeah, it's a tough one. I think I will say the whole sort of like news cycle and marketing scheme around Saros has really sort of like gotten me interested in it, and it's actually made me also want to like consider getting Returnal from like a secondhand sort of from your CEX or something as well, just to sort of fill the gap in and just try it out. Like you say, everything that is said, it sort of ticks the boxes for me.
Screen
I
Rant,
don't know why I'm holding back.
Screen Rant say 8 out of 10, and I quote, "I'd be glad for anyone who shied away from Returnal to find their footing in Saros." So it sounds like if Returnal didn't seem like it was up your street, you're going to benefit massively from kind of skipping it and going into this. Because similar to you, reading all the reviews this week, my immediate thing was like, maybe I go pick up Returnal, but that could put me off Saros from the sounds of it. So yeah, I'm trying to think. Even if we get down, IGN gave it a 7 out of 10, which is kind of on the lower side. They said Saros tries an interesting and ambitious story. It isn't always able to effectively tell, but Housemarque has once again proved that its bullet hell sensibilities mesh incredibly well with fluid and challenging action to make for one of the best PlayStation 5 games of the year. And then there's a couple of reviews that are still waiting, because obviously we're recording this on Saturday the 25th. It doesn't come out for a week, so there's actually a lot of probably outlets that are going to spend a bit more time with it. But overall, 88's pretty damn high. You're just shy of your 9 out of 10s there for the biggest game of the year. But, Tom, why don't we pivot our attention, all hands on deck, to a tried and tested game that almost 13 years ago graced our presence on the PS... Was it multi-platform, Black Flag? Was it PS3 and 4? Or was this one just 4?
I got it on 4. But I have a feeling it was cross. I think it was cross-gen.
PS3. It was cross-gen, PS3. So we're digging back into the treasure trove of history here. It's like this industry's worst kept secret. Black Flag Resynced has been confirmed, announced by Ubisoft for July the 9th. And Ubisoft have kind of done this big, massive press tour. There's been previews. Everyone's had hands-on events to it. 13 years after the game's original launch, Resynced is a faithful recreation of Black Flag, enhanced in the latest version of the Anvil engine, featuring many improvements and new content led by Ubisoft Singapore, with many of the original games. Singapore's the ones who did Skull and Bones, so that's quite interesting. Of like, they've been doing a lot in this kind of pirate space for the last decade, so why not get them on it? As they say, you return to the Caribbean to live the pirate life as captain of the Jackdaw and experience the thrills and danger of explosive naval combat, cutthroat sword battles, and a new and improved parry-driven combat system. A total visual overhaul that brings the beautiful tropical environment to life, and so much more. Take on the role of Edward Kenway on his journey from privateer to skilled assassin and his fight against the Templars. You'll relive Edward's story, but in a world that's more immersive and realistic than ever before, thanks to the latest technology and a team with a great passion for games. There's lots of bullet points in this, Tom, to get into, but where are your hype levels at for Assassin's Creed Resynced? Because I'm ready to set. I don't know about you. I'm ready to set sail again.
Yeah. So I fell off the Assassin's Creed hype train quite hard after Valhalla, but I will say Black Flag was definitely my peak. It was my peak, and I have to say the first thing that I noticed about this, seeing the trailer, absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Like it looks so. It looks like, the only way I can say about it is it looks like how I remember playing it.
Yeah,
originally.
agreed.
Like
agreed.
But just it's obviously better at this point.
It actually doesn't have that Ubisoft stink over it for me. Like when I'm looking at some of the footage, a lot of Ubisoft looks look like copy and paste assets, and it's benefited them greatly over the years. But I sometimes look at, especially the NPCs, and go like, you look like a Ubisoft NPC, and I could put you in any game from The Division to Assassin's Creed to Far Cry, and you will very much fit into place. As I said, they've put this completely new Anvil engine, they've redone all the assets and stuff, but it doesn't look out of place in 2026, to its massive credit.
Not at all, no. And I think maybe that's a credit to the Singapore team more than anything. I mean, you know, it was a running joke for the longest time about Skull and Bones, wasn't it, on the channel, really? So it's now a lot clearer why Skull and Bones was delayed so much.
They probably spent all their time working on this, because they definitely didn't bring their A game to Skull and Bones, did they?
No, absolutely. I feel like this has been cooking a lot longer. And good for them. Good for them. I hope that it lands well. I very much feel like it would be something that I would love to sit down and play again. I do remember getting pissed off collecting all the shanties and so on originally.
Oh, they're back.
But
new shanties and more.
It's not an Assassin's Creed game without all of those things, though, is it really?
No.
But I think this is going to be the first Assassin's Creed game I play for a while that I'm like genuinely excited for. So yeah,
myself and Richie have spoke for years about that. When Black Flag did so well, they should have spun it off into a Pirates Creed franchise.
Absolutely. Yes.
Instead of giving us a Skull and Bones and a what was the Hyperloop was the game that they tried to do, and all these little things in between that they've cancelled, all these projects that they put millions and millions into. They could have just kept Assassin's Creed doing its Assassin's Creed thing, and they could have been 3 or 4 games deep into a Pirates Creed spin-off series focused on pirates and storytelling. And there's some really good things that they've added into this. For one, which is going to be so good, you know, the eavesdropping missions, they don't auto-fail if you fall out of range or you get seen. Like, it's little quality of life things that I think the little bit of disdain that was there for Black Flag, I think they're correcting. The traversal, they're implementing essentially the Assassin's Creed Unity version, where you can kind of go up and down a bit more free parkour style. Okay. They introduced it to Shadows earlier this year. So Shadows had like your more traditional open world RPG traversal, and in one of the big patch updates, they basically launched it where you have a bit more freedom of movement. Which is what everyone said. Like, Assassin's Creed Unity to this day is the best movement in an AC game.
Yes, yeah.
It was so free-flowing and natural, and it looked great. So it's nice to see that's going to... Basically, I think when you go into the settings, you're going to be able to choose your style of movement, which, again, options are always good. Another thing they've said about is the combat. They've completely redone the combat, which I think a lot of old fans are like, I don't like that. However, I do think the Assassin's Creed combat from that era was a bit clunky. It was very much like a lock-in, almost like an Arkham Asylum style, but because it was an open world, it didn't flow as smooth as an Arkham game or a Spider-Man game would. So I think I'm glad to see they've probably took all the learnings from the RPG Origins, Valhalla kind of Odyssey style. It is a lot more close quarters when you're in the kind of the streets and stuff on this one. But I'm hoping it's refined well enough to make the game feel fresh, even though it's in an old setting.
Yeah, I do so too.
And pirates, man. Pirates are cool as shit. Like, that's the thing, is we haven't had a good pirate game probably since Black Flag.
We haven't had a good Pirates of the Caribbean movie for a while, so...
That is true, yeah. It lived off the back of that. In terms of things that Ubisoft have said, they are kind of fully marketing this. It's probably going to be their biggest game of the year. They mentioned about, like, the Anvil engine, 60 frames per second on consoles, the best graphics. New features added to the Jackdaw as well. You can locate and assign new officers. They've reworked loads of stuff around rewards and kind of in-game characters. I know myself and Richie have spoke about it, but they have also confirmed that all the Animus stuff is gone. So you are doing no missions where you randomly walk around Abstergo HQ in first person. It is purely Edward Kenway's story. That's it.
Which is good, because, I mean, that's kind of like the focus for it anyway, and that's where the fun, the meat of the game is.
And if you've never played Black Flag 13 years ago, because you were maybe like 5-year-old, and then you're picking up this game because it looks like a great, fantastic pirate adventure. Imagine randomly being dumped halfway through the story, or 10% into the story of like, oh, now you're in an office block. Walk around and collect emails to do with Desmond and Italy in the Renaissance era. You're like, I thought I was playing a pirate game. What the fuck's going on here? It would be so disconnecting. Interesting enough, they have ditched the 4 from Assassin's Creed. It is just Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So they've ditched the big 4 that used to sit behind the wording.
Cool.
Again, we could still get our Pirates Creed. If this does well, they could finally, 13 years too late, spin it off. They go into new takedowns, so they've kind of edited the combat there. New parry mechanics, quickfire rote dart has been added. New enemy archetypes. There's a demolitionist has been added, so you got some new enemies to come up with. New eagle vision mode. You're able to crouch anywhere instead of just hiding behind objects. You're able to dive anywhere, meaning Edward can now stealthily approach seafront locations and ships without kind of being locked into that kind of parkour. Shadows and light are going to affect Edward's visibility. We had that in Shadows, so they've carried that over. New secondary weapons, including shrapnel barrels, and new weapons for the ship as well. Parkour includes manual jump, side ejects, and height gaining back ejects, and quicker interrupts between parkour moves, which is that kind of Unity element I mentioned. And then they've gone all out with the weather, with the sea. Weather dynamics from the Caribbean are going to come into play more than ever. Destructible objects within the weather as well, so I think shipwrecks and stuff. Really balancing out to make it feel like an actual pirate game. So it's not just a remaster or a remake. It very much feels like a full retelling of the story.
It's a resync.
Hey, and if you feel that committed to it, they've also got a collector's edition, which you can pick up for £175. Ouch.
This is getting silly.
I mean, it looks like a great collector's edition, I'm not going to lie, but...
I mean, I remember your collector's editions. I've seen your statues.
I used to have more. I've obviously got rid of them over the years. Some of them that I didn't really need. I just wanted them as a big nerd.
You had the 3 statue, didn't you? Did you have the 3 statue?
I had Origins. I had not Origins. Sorry, Odyssey. I had the Spartan jumping with the spear.
Yes, that's the one.
He went about 4 years ago or something. I had like an Arkham City one where Batman's holding the Joker by his throat. I had that one for a while. I sold that to a friend, and it's just it's that reality. It's like shelf space, just really down to shelf space. I've got a Sonic the Hedgehog Mega Drive Special Edition in the loft where it's like I refuse to sell that one, but there's no space for it to sit out. But yeah, this Assassin's Creed one, I think Ubisoft know they're onto a winner with it because they are doubling down on like deluxe edition, collector's edition, statuettes, steelbooks, features, bonus stuff, and I think they know this is going to do well. I'm definitely there day one. And I think as far as all of the older games go, I think outside of the Ezio games, I think Black Flag probably has the most goodwill behind it as well.
Yes,
and let's face it,
absolutely.
Ubisoft need a win at the moment, don't they? They really do need a win.
They do.
But yeah, July 9th, not too far away. It's obviously been leaked and rumoured for a long, long time, but it's good to know that it's official. Now, it's good to know that it's official. Because with Ubisoft, anything happen. As we wind down this week's episode, we have 2 quick stories. On the Ubisoft front, it wouldn't be Ubisoft without some good news and some bad news. They've also cancelled their upcoming Animal Crossing and Minecraft-inspired cozy life simulator game called Alterra. The publisher hasn't commented on it directly, but we know from internal sources and stuff at Insider Gaming. They say that the animal-inspired social sim was broke to staff working on the game on Tuesday, and they were all sent home for the day. That's got to be a shit place to work. It was poured that it's pretty much immediate, but its sources claim no layoffs were happening following the project's cancellation, at least not yet. But employees working on the game were put on availability for other projects within the company with immediate effect. That said, it's unclear what it means for the support studio I've been working on. That's also been helping to build up the game. Ubisoft Montreal had been developing the title for nearly 3 years under the leadership of creative director Patrick Redding, who's a ex-Splinter Cell and Far Cry veteran. IGN reached out to the studio for clarification, but Ubisoft just said they don't comment directly on Alterra's existence and cancellation. So the game never existed. The game's never been cancelled because it never existed. Wink, wink. But I think it's, again, Ubisoft's problem through and through is they chase trends. Here they are chasing an Animal Crossing trend 6 years too late, and now they've pulled the plug on it. The Battle Royale thing with Hyperscape that I mentioned, they've tried it with that. They tried it with the Division game. They tried it with... I feel like Ubisoft had 4 or 5 attempts at the Battle Royale thing, and all of them has fell on their face.
X-Defiant as well.
X-Defiant. It just, they keep falling on the face, don't they?
Absolutely.
And he's another one, unfortunately. Alterra, I guess they need something in every genre, but it's a shame they don't do it themselves rather than just copy other people.
They need to get better at their own espionage. Maybe, I don't know, bring back a certain...
Yeah.
Mr.
Far Cry.
Fisher.
But
Yes.
I wonder if at a point at Ubisoft they have the kind of like their business planner meetings and stuff, and they get together and go. One of their colleagues comes in and goes, "I've got a great idea for a game. Look at this. It's pirates. It's this." And like, John, that's our own game. You're trying to copy our own game from 13 years ago, and that's how Black Flag Resynced came about.
Do it.
They're starting to copy so many things. They're now copying their own stuff over and over again. But I tell you which will never be copied or replicated, so, Tom. Our last story of the week, Echo the Dolphin Complete is announced. It includes remasters of the first 2 games and a brand new game. So we're getting 3. I'm sure as a millennial, you've got a soft spot for Echo the Dolphin, Tom.
Absolutely.
Ever played it?
No. Yes, I did. I had it on the Mega Drive. I
Same.
didn't know what the hell I was doing in the game at all, but
it's just cool being a dolphin, right? Doing your echolocation and
absolutely.
swimming around. And if I remember, as memory serves, it was quite a beautiful game, though. Like, unlike anything you would have seen on the Mega Drive, because it was underwater, so it was quite unique. But yeah, A&R Atelier, the creators of Echo Dolphin, basically announced Echo the Dolphin Complete, a remastered collection, which is going to include a brand new title, which was revealed as part of an official website. The package includes all versions of Echo the Dolphin and Echo the Dolphin: The Tides of Time, complete with the built-in speedrunning support, achievements, and leaderboards that are going to add to the original experience. The most interesting bit of the press release teases meta quests, not MetaQuest, meta quests that unify all games in the collection across all 3, allowing players to create custom courses, chart their own path through a combination of levels. So it sounds like it's going like Mario Maker on Echo the Dolphin. But yeah, complete. It's original. It's been built by the original members of the Echo development team, have been reunited after more than 30 years, with it including the original creator and original members of the composition, art, and programming teams. And then they add on that we can't wait to see how everything comes together. And yeah, the website, as you pointed out, Tom, has a countdown on it. It shows 2087 to 36, so presumably days, hours, months, years. Who knows? But there's some eerie, echoey music to go along with that, and yeah, Echo the Dolphin. Some PlayStation, some Microsoft Mega Drive games coming back around. Do you think Echo the Dolphin has a rival in the game? I never got to the end of it. It was one of those where I think I probably only played the first 2 levels as a kid and could never get past.
I feel like Echo's rival would have to be like an orca, right? Or
I
shark.
guess maybe, yeah. Yeah,
whale,
the sharks
shamu.
seem like the obvious one, but maybe the orcas are the real enemy. They should be allies, but there's a sense of, oh my god, there's a pterodactyl in this clip I'm watching. That must be the Tides of Time. Does he a time traveling dolphin?
Yes, I actually know. Now you mention it, the second game, that I'm sure it had dinosaurs. I'm sure
I was literally watching him jump out of the water and be grabbed by a pterodactyl. So or a pterodon or a ptero, whatever, the flying ones. Huh.
Wow.
Maybe I should dust off Echo the Dolphin and
maybe you should. Out. Maybe you should drop your PlayStation 1 black labels, get back to the old.
Yeah, forget that. I actually think I still have it on the shelf behind me, actually.
Wow.
Perhaps. I'll tell you what, Tom. We'll round out this week's episode, as we always do, by talking about this day in video game history while I look back on my shelf in video game history. April 25th is the time of recording. What stands out for you on this day?
April 25th. Right, let's take a look. So, looking down the list right here, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, we've got, for me, it's the Japanese release date, but I'm a big Fire Emblem guy. I love my tactical RPGs. What I really loved about Fire Emblem is the idea of having the characters permanently die on you. If you recruit people and they go into battle and they die, you have essentially lost that.
So much risk.
So, absolutely. So when you want to try and have one of these pure runs where you want to keep everybody alive, it becomes quite important to save scum. Saving it, turning it off, turning it back on again quickly. Yeah.
I did that.
Emblem.
I did that with Requiem recently as well. I used every save slot imaginable when I was going through that.
How about you? Anything stand out to you?
Looking ahead a day or two. PlayStation 4, 7 years ago, we got Days Gone.
Wow. Yeah.
7 years ago, and they've not put out a game since. So it just shows you they should have got working on a sequel immediately, but they delayed, they put off. They got put on randomly a God of War game at some point, and then that got cancelled, and they're currently just floundering, hopefully working on a new project. But if you remember the beginning of last year, or was it the beginning of this year, in fact, their project was cancelled. So they are
It was, yeah.
doing something, but yeah. I've got a soft spot for Days Gone. I really enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the game prior to that, which was Golden Abyss on the PlayStation Vita, Uncharted. Mm-hmm. So the last 2 games I've made, I've absolutely loved, and yet I'm sat here waiting 7 years for anything else from the studio. So yeah, shame. 2 years ago, somehow already Stellar Blade. 2 years already. That feels like not that long ago at all.
Absolutely.
And then I guess skipping ahead to April 27th, Game Boy in 1992, 34 years ago, Kirby's Dream Land.
Absolutely. I mean, there's some absolute crackers on the 27th there. Final Fantasy 3, Breath of Fire 4, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Like, there's some
Star Fox 64 as well as there.
Wow.
The lesser played Mario Kart Wii.
Mario Kart Wii
was all there as well. Jedi Survivor on the PC 3 years ago as well. We're not far off a sequel to that then, surely. PC 3-4 years. But I did find it on the shelf, Tom, for our viewers out there. Echo the dolphin. Echo. As it reads, you are Echo, a powerful young dolphin, not an old one. A mysterious storm has swept your family from the sea. The search to find them will take you through vast underwater realms of treachery, beauty, and adventure. Explore over 25 giant levels of solving puzzles and fighting denizens of the sea. Wow, what a description.
Amazing.
1-player, 16-bit cartridge with your nice thick instruction manual.
Whoa, love it.
Not much in terms of imagery in there. And you got the old dusty cartridge as well. Look at that.
Vintage. Look at that.
He's quite a glassy dolphin, isn't he, really? In terms of his skin, the texture of him looks like he's a sexy statue.
That dolphin's got a head on it as well. That
Yes, it does. Why do the manuals? No wonder they look so dog-eared. They're too big for the case.
They always were. You always had to force it in.
Yeah, pretty much. When was that out? Did we say originally the first one? 1992. Yeah, Sega Enterprises, made in Japan. There we go. Love it. 1992, long time ago, Tom, and this has been a lovely short podcast for our listeners out there. Clocking in at 1.5 hours for episode 141. We're creeping up on the old Sounds of Stadia, you know. We maxed out at 161 episodes. We're only 20 weeks away from doing more GamerGuild podcasts than Sounds of Stadia, which is crazy. But you know what? 3,500 subs. The games keep on ticking over. We keep ticking over. And thank you once again for filling in for Richie this week. It's always a big help, and it's been a pleasure talking games with you here on the show. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in on YouTube, anyone who listens on podcast services. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, like the video, subscribe, ring a ding that bell, so you're kept in the loop with all the great content we do here every single week, like our Resident Evil playthroughs, like our Retro Hunt game throughs, everything else in between that goes on, and of course, this weekly show, the GamerGuild Podcast. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.